Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam. Okay? Jai Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta Madhya-lila Chapter 4, Sri Madhavendra Puri's devotional service. We are on text 154. Madhavendra Puri is coming from Jagannath Puri, having collected sandalwood for the deity of Gopal in Vrindavan, after spending much time, many months it seems, collecting and traveling and all these things. Now he's going back to fulfill the mission given to him by Sri Gopal deity. So text 154. Chalila Madhava Puri Chandana Lana Katadine Remunate Utarila Gia. In this way, Madhavendra Puri started for Vrindavan with the burden of sandalwood, and after some days, he again reached the village of Remuna and the Gopinath temple there. Gopinath-charane koila bahu namaskara premavase nritya gita korila apara. When Madhavendra Puri reached the temple of Gopinath, he offered his respectful obeisances many times at the lotus feet of the Lord. Gopinath-charane, the lotus feet of Lord Gopinath. Bahu namaskara, many obeisances. In the ecstasy of love, he began to dance and sing without cessation. Puri deki sevaka sabha samana korila kshira prasada dia tare bhiksha karaila. When the priest of Gopinath saw Madhavendra Puri again, he offered all respects to him, and giving him the sweet rice prasadam, made him eat. So the priest knows God, the deity of Gopinath, having come to him in a dream, wants Madhavendra Puri to have the sweet rice from the deity. So the priest is conscious of this and is immediately doing that. Se ratri Devalaya Korila Shayana Shesha Ratri Hoila Puri Dekila Swapana. Madhavendra Puri took rest that night in the temple, but toward the end of the night he had another dream. Gopala Asiya Kahe Shunahe Madhava Karpuna Chandana Ami Payelama Sabha. Madhavendra Puri dreamed that Gopal came before him and said, "O Madhavendra Puri, I have already received all the sandalwood and camphor." 159. Karpura Sahita Gashi E Sabha Chandana Gopinatera Ange Nitya Karaha Lepana. Now just grind all the sandalwood together with the camphor and then smear the pulp on the body of Gopinath daily until it is finished. This is the deity of Gopal speaking to Madhavendra Puri. Gopal is situated in Vrindavan, but he's coming to Madhavendra Puri in a dream in the village of Remuna before the deity of Gopinath. Gopinatha Amara Se Eka I Angahoya Inhake Chandana Dile Hobemora Tapa Kshaya. There is no difference between my body and Gopinath's body. They are one and the same. Therefore, if you smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath, you will naturally also smear it on my body. Thus, the temperature of my body will be reduced. So, Gopal is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. But nonetheless, for his own pleasure in the pastimes of Leela and the service of his his beloved devotee Madhavendra Puri, he's showing the signs of being overheated by having stayed in the jungle for so long, and wanting in that way to engage in a transcendental reciprocal relationship with Madhavendra Puri. It's love. And love is manifested like tangibly in specific activities of service. This is the ultimate condition of the living entity in relationship with the Lord. That the Lord gives a specific type of service, and through that service we express our love for the Lord. It's like simultaneously one and different. The love is the service, and the service is the love. But at the same time, each has a distinct individual identity and an individual experience. So this development of love between Gopal and Madhavendra Puri is now manifesting in Gopal's telling him that he's not different from Gopinath, and that Madhavendra Puri should engage immediately in service there to cool the body of Gopal in Vrindavan. So Srila Prabhupada says, Gopal was situated in Vrindavan, which was far from Remuna. In those days, one had to pass through provinces governed by the Muslims, who sometimes hindered travelers. Considering the trouble of his devotee, Lord Gopal, the greatest well-wisher of his devotees, ordered Madhavendra Puri to smear the sandalwood pulp on the body of Gopinath, which was non-different from the body of Gopal. In this way, the Lord relieved Madhavendra Puri from trouble and inconvenience. So, Prabhupada telling us, Gopal knew that there would be trouble along the way from Remuna to Vrindavan because the Muslims occupied that territory, and they might get hassled, and even the sandalwood might be seized. There was no certainty traveling through the territories governed by Muslims who were generally not favorable. Not everyone was unfavorable, but generally that was the situation. Okay, text 161. Dvidha na bhaviha na koriha kichumane Vishvasa kori chandana deha amara vachane. You should not hesitate to act according to my order. Believing in me, just do what is needed. So Gopal's telling him, just take my order, don't worry about it. So in that way, we have like confidence in the order of Guru coming from Krishna himself through Guru to us. Just do this. Just try to do this. Even if we can't do it properly, if we try to do it, the ideal is in the feeling, is in the attempt for giving love to the personality of Godhead. So just act. Don't worry about limitations or considerations, because this transaction between the Lord and the devotee, even in our case, because we have a pure devotee guru, this transaction is going on a level beyond the limitations of the material world and the bodies and the minds and everything else that we have. There's another element there that we're contributing, and that element is our sincerity. And Srila Guru Maharaj has said that sincerity can never be defeated. Okay, so this is Madhavendra Puri dreaming. Gopal is telling him. Eta Bali Gopala Gela Gosai Jagala Gopinata Hena Sevaka Gane Dakia Denila. After hearing these instructions, Gopal disappeared, and Madhavendra Puri awoke. He immediately called for all the servants of Gopinath, and they came before him. So immediately, Madhavendra Puri gets the instruction, no question, immediately act. Prabhura Agya Hoila E Karpana Chandana Gopinathera Ange Nitya Karaha Lepana. Madhavendra Puri said, smear the body of Gopinath with this camphor and sandalwood. I have brought for Gopal in Vrindavan. Do this regularly every day. So he's ordering the servants, do this. And because the servants understand the devotional position of Srila Madhavendra Puri, they're going to do it. Based on knowledge of the reciprocal relationship going on between the high devotee and the Lord, the lower devotees naturally serve the higher devotee. This is the natural order of things from this world all the way up to the transcendental world. And we are always in, whatever our position, we're in a lower position in relation to the Lord and His servants. This is the reality of our situation in existence. We're always lower. Even though in the material world we're always trying to be higher based on our ego. But the fact is, we're always in a low position. And to come to terms with that and to begin to accept that and surrender to that, this is the process of bhakti that we're involved in. To develop that surrendered mood and enter into the ideal of being, like Srila Sridhar Maharaj said, being a slave. Nothing more than just a slave who's totally sold out. This is our ideal, even though it's just the opposite in the material world. The slave is the lowest, but in the spiritual world, the slave is the highest. Okay. Inhake chandana dile gopala hoibe shitala Swatantra Ishwara Tara Agya Se Prabhala. If the sandalwood pulp is smeared over the body of Gopinath, then Gopal will be cooled. After all, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is completely independent, and His order is all-powerful. So Madhavendra Puri is just saying, Gopal has said that I'll be cooled by smearing sandalwood on the body of Gopinath. So it's going to happen. There's no question about it. Whatever the Lord says is true. And Madhavendra Puri is fully accepting that the Lord has manifested in his dream because he's a realized soul and he sees clearly what is the desire of the Lord. And the Lord himself, in his transcendental pastime, appears before Madhavendra Puri in a dream and reciprocates with him and orders him to serve out of love in this way. Okay, 165. Grishma kale gopinatha paribe chandana shuni anandita hoila sevakera mana. The servants of Gopinath became very pleased to hear that in the summer all the sandalwood pulp would be used to anoint the body of Gopinath. Puri kahe, e dui goshibe chandana, anajana dui deha diba ye vetana. Madhavendra Puri said, these two assistants will regularly grind the sandalwood, and you should also get 2 other people to help. I shall pay their salaries. So this is... Madhavendra Puri says that he'll pay the salaries of the people who are hired to help grind the sandalwood pulp. So this is like, a tradition in India that even the servants in the temple, if they're grihastas, oftentimes they're paid, not always, but oftentimes it's like that. And the transaction goes on with an understanding of each individual's particular position within the varnashram and their responsibilities for particular service. And of course, this whole thing becomes mixed up because of the mixed motive of devotees in the Kali Yuga. So, it's more ideal, and this has been declared by our gurus, it's more ideal if there's not a situation of salary. If salary is there, the exchange becomes less so devotional. Whereas in an ideal situation, in the case of fully dedicated devotees, it doesn't matter whether they're grihastas or varnaprasthas or sannyasis or brahmacharis. They'll engage in wholehearted service regardless. So if they need a certain amount for maintenance, they take it. This is, like Prabhupada used to say, this is Bhagavad communism. It's perfect social ordering based on everybody takes according to their need and gives according to their capacity. And it really works because it's based on real love and dedication and realization and experience. Otherwise, theoretical material communism doesn't work because it doesn't motivate people. It's simply, there's some theory, ethereal theory, that people can't relate to because they're not pure. And they're not, the only way communism works is with God. And the first thing that Marx denied was the existence of God. So he's got developed material intelligence, and he's seeing the order of Bhagavad society, but because he's an atheist, he orders it without God, and therefore it never worked. So this is the kind of consciousness and the varnashram understanding behind the notion of, grihastas serving in the temple and receiving salaries. E mata chandana deya pratyaha gashiya paraya sevaka sabha ananda kariya. In this way, Gopinath was supplied ground sandalwood pulp daily. The servants of Gopinath were very pleased with this. So the devotees of Gopinath who are serving Gopinath have got a service mentality. And when additional materials come to increase their service to Gopinath, naturally they become happier. They become more and more happy. This is the beauty of devotional service. We give to Krishna, and through that giving and through that spirit of non-calculating giving, we actually get happiness. So, that's the paradoxical situation of Krishna consciousness. That if we really want happiness, we should not want happiness. So that we have to deal with and gradually work with leaving behind our ego that drives us to seek after personal acquisition and personal benefit. Okay. Pratyaha chandana paraya yavat hoila anta tataya rahila puri tavat paryanta. In this way, the sandalwood pulp was smeared over the body of Gopinath until the whole stock was finished. Madhavendra Puri stayed there until that time. So, Madhavendra Puri is going, it seems like he's gone to Jagannath Puri. Correct me if I'm wrong, Maharaj. It seems like he's gone to Jagannath Puri at the spring, obtaining sandalwood for Gopal what's the term? Considering that summer's going to come and Gopal wants to be covered with sandalwood in the heat of the summer. So now he's spent the summer months, or so it seems, in Remuna, smearing the body with Gopinath, and the sandalwood now is finished. And yeah, that's what the next verse will say. Grishma kala ante puna nichale gela, nichale chaturmasya anande rahila. At the end of the summer, Madhavendra Puri returned to Jagannath Puri, where he remained with great pleasure during the whole period of Chaturmasya. Okay, Srila Prabhupada tells us about Chaturmasya, and I'll read it just to help us remember. The Chaturmasya period begins in the month of Ashadha, June, July, from the day of Ekadasi called Shayana Ekadashi in the fortnight of the waxing moon. The period ends in the month of Kartika, October-November, on the Ekadasi day known as Uttana Ekadasi, in the fortnight of the waxing moon. This 4-month period is known as Chaturmasya. Some Vaishnavas also observe it from the full moon of Ashada until the full moon of Kartika. That is also called Chaturmasya. But others observe Chaturmasya according to the solar month from Shravana to Kartika. Anyway, these are different Vedic months that in different ways to calculate the duration of the 4 months, depending on the position of the moon and the dating of Ekadashi and so on. It does not matter whether one is in Grihastha ashram or a sannyasi. The observance is obligatory for all ashrams. The real purpose behind the vow taken during these 4 months is to minimize the quantity of sense gratification. This is not very difficult. In the month of Shravan, one should not eat spinach. In the month of Bhadra, one should not eat yogurt. In the month of Ashvina, one should not drink milk. One should not eat fish or other non-vegetarian food during the month of Kartika. A non-vegetarian diet means fish and meat. Similarly, Masur dal and Urd dal are also considered non-vegetarian. These 2 dals contain a great amount of protein, and food rich in protein is considered non-vegetarian. On the whole, during the 4-month period of Chaturmasya, one should practice giving up all food intended for sense enjoyment. So we're in the period of Chaturmasya. Srila Prabhupada is telling us what Chaturmasya is. And generally, within Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Math, it's optional, generally, for the observance of Chaturmasya, but a good thing if one can follow and minimize the consideration for personal acquisition and enjoyment. So sometimes people don't shave like I'm doing and Braja Prabhu is doing. Because when you shave, you have to look in the mirror, etc. So Chaturmasya, obligatory for everyone, whether Grihastha or Sannyasi, Srila Prabhupada says. So, are we doing that here? Did we not eat spinach in that month? No, we're not doing it. Okay.
What is about not looking in the mirror? What is it about not looking in the mirror?
That's for shaving. It's personal consideration that is minimized during Chaturmasya, so you don't shave, which involves looking in the mirror and making sure you've covered everything and so on, like that. Yeah, it's just an additional consideration that minimizes personal time spent on individual necessities. So 170. Sri Mukha Madhava Purira Amrita Charita Bhakta Gane Shunina Prabhu Kore Ashvadita. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally praised the nectarian characteristics of Madhavendra Puri, and while he related all this to the devotees, he personally relished it. So this is Mahaprabhu telling the story of Madhavendra Puri, which Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj is reciting to us. Now he'll go back into the position of Mahaprabhu speaking. Prabhu kahe Nityananda karaha vichara puri sama bhagyavan jagate nahi ara. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked Nityananda Prabhu to judge whether there was anyone within the world as fortunate as Madhavendra Puri. Dugda dana chale Krishna yara deka dila tina barde swapne ashi yara agya koila. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Madhavendra Puri was so fortunate that Krishna personally appeared before him on the plea of delivering milk. 3 times the Lord gave orders to Madhavendra Puri in dreams. Yara preme vasha hana prakata hoila seva angikara kori jagatarila. being obliged because of the loving affairs of Madhavendra Puri, Lord Krishna himself appeared as the Gopal deity, and accepting his service, he liberated the whole world. So Madhavendra Puri is engaging in unalloyed loving service to the deity of Gopal. Gopal is accepting. So there's a transcendental reciprocal exchange going on here in this world. Based on the presence of that transcendental reciprocal exchange, the power of that transcendental reciprocal exchange, according to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, I think, this develops a wave, and the wave engulfs the world. And whether the living entities become submerged in the wave or remain on the surface, we've all heard the songs. Depends on the consciousness of the living beings, but nonetheless, the world is immersed and liberated. So this is already there. By the grace of Mahaprabhu, we have access to it. It's here. We just need to tap into it, and that's our, that's our challenge, is to tap into the substance of what Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave, and what, here in this case, the devotee, Madhavendra Puri, Srila Madhavendra Puri, gave to the world by engaging in the pure service of Gopal within this, or within the perception or experience of this plane of existence that we find ourselves in. Yara lagi gopinatha kshira koila churi ataeva nama hoila kshira chora kori. On account of Madhavendra Puri, Lord Gopinath stole the pot of sweet rice. Thus he became famous as Kshira Chora, the thief who stole the sweet rice. Karpura Chandana Yara Ange Chadaila Anande Puri Gosai Prema Utaila. Madhavendra Puri smeared the sandalwood pulp over the body of Gopinath, and in this way he was overpowered with love of Godhead. So, again, this is like love of Godhead means manifested life, manifested transcendental action. It's there in the love is not something that's theoretical and detached from the existence. It pervades the existence. It is the activity. This is the nature of the spiritual abode, that everyone lives in love of Godhead, and that love is practically alive in the daily activities. This is our hopeful prospect, that we can, rather than being separated like we are here in the material world, separated from our loving nature, and our activities are, because we're conditioned by the material energy, our activities are separated from our soul's inner desire. But through development of bhakti, and eventually, as our gurus assure us, eventually we'll come to that stage where we'll be able to enter into this kind of pure existence, where everything is alive, everything is filled with love, everything is manifested by love. All the objects have to do with that love, as opposed to all the objects here having to do with what is possible to achieve for our own purposes, or for the purposes of the collective society, or whatever. So the spiritual world is manifest devotion, manifest loving exchange. And so this exchange of Gopinath with Madhavendra Puri is practical manifestation of that spiritual abode. Mlecha deshe karpura chandana anite janjala puri dunka pabe iha janiya gopala. In the provinces of India, governed by the Muslims, there was much inconvenience in traveling with sandalwood and camphor. Because of this, Madhavendra Puri might have gotten into trouble. Thus, this became known to the Gopal deity. Mahadanya Maya Prabhu, Bhakata Vatsala, Chandana Pari Bhakta Shrama, Korila Sapala. The Lord is very merciful and attached to his devotees, so when Gopinath was covered with sandalwood pulp, Madhavendra Puri's labor became successful. So Gopal is manifesting in transcendental expansion. He's manifesting the oneness of Gopal and Gopinath, while simultaneously there's obviously a distinct difference, but at the same time they are one. This is our Vedanta Siddhanta, that everything is one and different. So the Supreme Lord ultimately also has manifested himself according to this understanding. It comes from Krishna himself, but nonetheless, it's a part of his identity, that he can expand himself and experience so many things through his own, I guess the best word is expansions, avatars, in different ways Krishna experiences these things. So here Gopal and Gopinath have become one, and Gopal is experiencing the application of sandalwood pulp. Purira prema parakashta karaha vichara alokika prema chitta lage chamatkara. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu placed the standard of Madhavendra Puri's intense love before Nityananda Prabhu for judgment. All his loving activities are uncommon, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said. Indeed, one is struck with wonder to hear of his activities. Srila Prabhupada tells us in relation to this verse, when the living entity feels spiritual separation from Krishna, Krishna Vygraha, he has achieved the prime success of life. When one becomes disinterested in material things, he is simply experiencing the other side of attraction for material things. However, feeling separation from Krishna and engaging in the service of the Lord to fulfill his mission constitute the best example of love of Krishna. So neither detachment from material things or attachment to material things. That's not the point. The point is beyond that. The point is service. That's the reality of the spiritual realm. So we, by the grace of Krishna himself, in the form of Gopal and Gopinath, and the grace of the great Vaishnavas like Madhavendra Puri, we get to begin to engage in on that plane of service, feeling something of the separation from Krishna, the desire to reconnect with him through service. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out this intense love of Krishna exhibited by Madhavendra Puri. All Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's devotees later followed in the footsteps of Madhavendra Puri, serving the Lord without personal consideration. Parama Virakta Mauni Sarvatra Udashina Gramya Varta Bhaye Dvitiya Sangahina. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Sri Madhavendra Puri used to remain alone. He was completely renounced and always very silent. He was uninterested in everything material, and for fear of talking about mundane things, he always lived without a companion. So this is the devotion produces automatically detachment from material things, while Mahaprabhu gives emphasis on the fact that devotional service is not detachment from material things alone. Nonetheless, real devotion produces automatically detachment from material things. So the devotion comes first, then the detachment comes, not the other way around. This is now what we're learning here from Mahaprabhu's talks now with Nityananda Prabhu. Okay. Hena jana gopalera agyamrita pana sahasra krosha ashi bale chandana magina. After receiving the transcendental orders of Gopal, the great personality traveled thousands of miles just to collect sandalwood by begging. So thousands of miles. I don't know the distance between Vrindavan and Jagannath Puri. It must be 1,000 miles, huh? Yeah, he says it traveled, what is the Bengali? Oh, Sahasra Krosha. Aha. So 1,000, and Krosha is 2. 2 miles, it says. Okay, so anyway, he traveled all this distance to beg for sandalwood for the deity of Gopal, taking so much trouble and inconvenience just because Gopal wanted it. So this, you know, we can take note of this, that sometimes our position in devotional service is difficult, and we have some objective that has been given by our gurus, but it's a very long, long journey. But here the example of Madhavendra Puri is that you just go on the journey and do it. And you will reach Jagannath Puri. You will reach the objective. And even though you don't have the capacity for fulfilling that objective, like in the case of Madhavendra Puri, he didn't have enough money to buy all the sandalwood, but he was able to beg it from the government officials. So even though we don't, have capacity to do these things in devotional service, still we try to do it, and in that attempt, we begin to develop the reality of that reciprocal loving relation with the Lord.
Maharaj,
yes.
According to the internet here, it's 1,450 kilometers or 900 miles.
Okay. So it's almost 1,000 miles. And then going by way of Remuna, or he first went to Bengal also, it said. So that would be a bit out of the way, right? Yeah. Okay, so it's correct, several thousand miles. So how long does it take you to walk 1,000 miles? It's a long time, huh?
According to Google, it says to walk direct Jagannath Puri to Vrindavan, 295 hours.
Really? That's not bad. What is
95 hours.
35 or 40 days, something like that? Walking 12, 16 hours a day, something like that?
295 hours if you walk 12 hours a day.
Oh, right. It's 25, huh?
4 days.
Yeah. Wow.
But might not work 12 hours a day, so
Yeah. 10, say, yeah. Yeah.
Mumba Maharshi did it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's something is the next life for me now. I'll be lucky if I make it in the parikrama in Vrindavan, around Vrindavan. Okay. So where are we? Okay. Bhoke rahe tabu ana magina nakaya hena jana chandana bhara vahilana yaya. Although Madhavendra Puri was hungry, he would not beg food to eat. This renounced person carried a load of sandalwood for the sake of Sri Gopal. So he was that kind of, we read earlier, he was that kind of Paramahansa Vaishnava, that he doesn't beg for food. He just takes what comes and that's it. And this is the mood and the feeling of the Paramahansa, that he's completely in a surrendered mood, so the Lord will send what's necessary for his maintenance and service. with having full faith in this and living in reality on that plane of loving exchange, it happens, because that's reality. That's what it is. So he doesn't beg for food, and he just endeavors to carry this load of sandalwood. Manika Chandana Tola Visheka Karpura Gopala Pariba E Ananda Prachura. Without considering his personal comforts, Madhavendra Puri carried one mound, about 82 pounds of sandalwood, and 20 tolas, about 8 ounces, of camphor to smear over the body of Gopal. This transcendental pleasure was sufficient for him. Do we use camphor here?
Yep.
Yeah. You mix it with the sandalwood?
No.
No. What, is it burned for offering?
No, sometimes we put in the sweet rice.
Oh, okay. Okay. So here Madhavendra Puri has mixed some camphor with the sandalwood after carrying the sandalwood from Jagannath Puri to Ramuna, a weight of 82 pounds, with others carrying other loads of sandalwood. He carried it from Jagannath Puri to Ramuna. How far is that? So Madhavendra Puri is taking this burden. He's a pure Vaishnava, but he's got the order from Gopal, so he'll do anything. And thus he's carrying the burden on his back for the sake of Gopal's service. So 183. Utkalera Dani Rake Chandana Dekina Taha Edaila Raja Patra Dekana. Since there were restrictions against taking the sandalwood out of the Orissa province, the toll official confiscated the stock. But Madhavendra Puri showed him the release papers given by the government and consequently escaped difficulties. Raja Patra, governmental release, or the government papers.
260 kilometers.
260 kilometers, which is, about 175 miles, something like that?
It is 160 miles.
Okay. So he's carrying 82 pounds, 160 miles. Utkalera Dani Rake Chandana Dekina. Oh, we already said that, okay. Mlecha Desha Dura Parta Jagati Apara Ke Mate Chandana Niba Nahi E Vichara. Madhavendra Puri was not at all anxious during the long journey to Vrindavan through the provinces governed by the Muslims and filled with unlimited numbers of watchmen.
Everybody engaged, right?
Sange eka vasha nahi ghati dana dite tatapi utsaha bada chandana lana yaite. Although Madhavendra Puri did not have a farthing with him, he was not afraid to pass the toll officers. His only enjoyment was in carrying the load of sandalwood to Vrindavan for Gopal. So, vata, eka vata, 1 farthing. I don't know what it was that's English. I don't know what it was in Bengali at the time. But he had nothing. So at the same time, looking at it within the realm of logic and reason, why even leave? It's not possible for him to pay the tolls that are necessary. There's so many tolls along the way, and he has no money. So it's beyond any kind of logical consideration. He knows Gopal needs it. I want to give it to him, so it's going to happen. That kind of faith that lays beyond the material world and beyond all material experience or beyond any kind of material perception. It has to do with the loving relation between Gopal, Sri Gopal, deity, and Madhavendra Puri. Pragada premera e swabhava achara nija dukkha vignadira na kore vichara. This is the natural result of intense love of Godhead. Pragadha, intense, premera, of love of Godhead. The devotee does not consider personal inconvenience or impediments. Dukkha, inconvenience, sadness. Vigna, impediments. In all circumstances, he wants to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse, Tat te anukam su samiksamanaha. Those who seriously desire to get free from the clutches of material existence, who have developed intense love for Krishna, are worthy candidates for going back to home, back to Godhead. An intense lover of Krishna does not care for any number of material discomforts, scarcity, impediments, or unhappiness. It is said that when one sees apparent unhappiness or distress in a perfect Vaishnava, it is not at all unhappiness for him. Rather, it is transcendental bliss. In the Shikshastika, number 8, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has also instructed, Aslishya va pada ratam pinastumam. The intense lover of Krishna is never deviated from his service, despite all difficulties and impediments brought before him. So, like when we see the Vaishnava in apparent unhappiness or, apparent distress, this is like going on a different level. It meant, in terms of the function of the material world, in his particular service in the material world, there may be some notion of distress, sickness, sadness, all these things. But at the ground level, within the heart, the experience is always transcendental bliss. So it doesn't matter, sukha or dukkha, as it's perceived and experienced within the material plane. Because it's said that the Vaishnava who's a guru, who's preaching, necessarily has to enter into the plane of Madhyama Adhikari, which makes distinction amongst persons and things in the world in terms of degree of engagement in devotional life. Otherwise, the Uttama Adhikari sees everything as being engaged in Krishna's service. So the pure Vaishnava, when we see, like sometimes we would see Srila Govinda Maharaj was distressed because of the difficulties in the mission, apparently distressed. But this was his manifest pastime of engaging in transcendental service to his Guru Maharaj. And based on that transcendental pastime, he was experiencing transcendental ecstasy in service to his Guru, although the manifest perceivable experience was that of sadness. So it's things are going on a whole different level. And this level is awakening within us. We're beginning to know of that level of experience. And a little bit knowing, we develop a faith that in the future we'll know more. Therefore, it's worth going through the difficulties that we are confronted with now. Okay, what time is it? 8:25, so a few more slokas. E tara gadha prema loke dekaita gopala tari agya dila chandana anite. Sri Gopal wanted to show how intensely Madhavendra Puri loved Krishna. Therefore, he asked him to go to Nilachala to fetch sandalwood and camphor. So Gopal's idea is that he'll show for the world, for the universe, what is real devotion to the Lord. And so he's ordered Madhavendra Puri to go through a very difficult service. Bahu Parisrame Chandana Remuna Anila Ananda Bardila Mane Dukana Ganila. With great trouble and after much labor, Madhavendra Puri brought the load of sandalwood to Remuna. However, he was still very pleased. He discounted all the difficulties. So he's living on that level of service. And external difficulties are just part of the waves of the material ocean. And situated in the boat of transcendental devotional service, he keeps going regardless of the waves, anything. It doesn't matter, because he has a good ship that will bring him through the waves. And that ship is his own devotion and dedication that resides in the heart. That is, resides in the heart and pervades his whole being, of course. Okay, 189. Pariksha korite gopala koila agya dana. Pariksha koria sheshe hoila dayavan. To test the intense love of Madhavendra Puri, Gopal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, ordered him to bring sandalwood from Nilachala. And when Madhavendra Puri passed this examination, the Lord became very merciful to him. It's interesting. Pariksha, Korea, making the test, Shesha, at the end, he became merciful. Pariksha korite, make the test. Gopal made the test, and he passed the test. In the end, he got the mercy. So, pariksha, Sanskrit, Bengali, parikha, is the test. And Krishna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, likes to give examination to his devotees. And this process of examination is going on in our lives. Constantly we're under examination of the Lord as to our desire for devotion. And this, we're put into different circumstances, not like Madhavendra Puri, but in a similar vein. Krishna puts us in different circumstances to test us, to see what is our devotion and dedication, and based on those activities, we receive some mercy. We're maybe 1/1,000,000th of the percentage of the grade of Madhavendra Puri, but still 1/1,000,000th comes by the grace and the mercy of the Lord, by our attempt at loving devotion and our attempt to pass the Lord's test. So we keep working, and the mercy increases, and we come closer and closer to pure devotion. This is our hope. This is our desire, and this is our mission given by our beloved gurus. E Bhakti Bhakta Priya Krishna Vyavahara Buja Hiteo Ama Sabara Nahi Adhikara. Such behavior exhibited in loving service between the devotee and the devotee's lovable object, Sri Krishna, is transcendental. It is not possible for a common man to understand it. Common men do not even have that capacity, adhikara, capacity. Vyavahar, the behavior. What is the behavior of the bhakta, the devotees, in relation to the priya, the loving object? This is not comprehensible. It has to be perceived with the heart. Otherwise, they can't understand. Based on their calculative reasoning, they cannot perceive why these people are doing things like jumping up and down in what's the square you guys go to? Leicester Square? Jumping up and down in Leicester Square. And I'm sure there are people who are looking and thinking, these people are nuts. What are they doing? There's no apparent object. We're not, getting anything. We're just doing this stuff that they perceive as without material gain. And for the materialists, there's no meaning to any activity that doesn't yield material gain. If they can't see it with a microscope or grab it in their hand, it's not desirable. It's not something that is worthwhile. So everything based, and everyone in different degrees is mixed. People have hearts, and people see with their hearts when they hear the Harinam Sankirtan, and they get the benefit based on how open their hearts are. And even the person who rejects it, still he's heard the name, and his heart begins to open a little bit. This is the amazing we don't know what's going on, but it's going on. According to Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, according to our gurus, this higher thing is transpiring through us, in spite of us. It's going on in a transcendental way. Why? Because we have connection, tangible connection with a pure Vaishnava, tantric connection through Diksha. The spirit penetrates into the material world by the power of Diksha. And so by that power, the transcendental message comes through us in spite of our mixed devotion and limitations. This is the higher arrangement of the Lord to enable us to progress towards His loving service and to enable us to give things from Him to other people in spite of our own impurity. So here, Kaviraj Goswami is saying, these common men don't have the ability to understand. Amasabara. It's not clear what common men would be, but generally, people living in the material world, they can't perceive what's happening, because it takes some sukriti, some spiritual vision, beginning spiritual vision, to enable one to have that perception and understanding. Otherwise, it's hidden. And in this way, it's protected. It's protected from intrusion by calculating trespassers. So in this way, the beautiful teachings of Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Srila Govinda Maharaj, coming from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, are imperceivable to the calculating materialists. So they don't have much interest in entering into such a mission involving such fine spiritual topics, which to ordinary materialists are just fanciful imagination. Okay, so we'll just read one more verse. Eta bali pade prabhu tara krita shloka ye shloka chandre jagat karyache aloka. After saying this, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu read the famous verse of Madhavendra Puri. This verse is just like the moon. It has spread illumination all over the world. So we're approaching the Mahaprabhu's speaking the verse of Madhavendra Puri, which has the power of, we're told, behind behind the verse of Madhavendra Puri expressing his devotion is the power of Srimati Radharani. So tomorrow we get to hear this prayer given by Srila Madhavendra Puri and known and spoken by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki jai. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Maharaj ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswatamat Acharya Brinda ki jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya-charitamrta ki jai. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopala Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana. Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra. Radhara Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha. Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha. Hey Jai Gosai Kori Charana Bandana. Jaha Hoite Vignanat Abhishta Puran. Etai Gosai Jar Munita Radasa. Sansavara Pada Renu Mora Panchagrasa. Kandera Charana Sevi Bhakta Sane Vasa. Janame Mora E Abhirasa. Ichai Gosai Jabe Bhaje Kolavasa. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Nyasi Kodila Prakasha. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavana. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavana. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhya Amana. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pade Madhya Amana. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Kori Asha. Shri Guru Vaishnava Pada Padma Kori Asha. Hari Nama Sankirtan Kohe Narottam Das. Hari Nama Sankirtan Kohe Narottam Das. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaura Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol. Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Jai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Jai Sapadikara Shri Guru Gauranga Radha Giridhari Ju Ki Jai. Jai